At this time, I'd like to call the December 15th, 2022 regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Plattsburgh to order. It is now 5:03 p.m. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Carlin, please conduct a roll call.
Mayor Rosenbluth. Here. Council Canales.
Here.
Council Kelly.
Here.
Council Gitt. Here. Council Talon. Here. Council Bob. Here. Council Moore.
Here. All members have received a copy of the minutes of the December 1st, 2022 regular meeting. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canales. Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. I'll now recognize those in the audience who wish to share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic. Please come to the podium to be acknowledged, and when called upon, we do please ask that you state your legal name and address for the record. In accordance with the organizational rules of order, all speakers will be given 5 minutes to address the council.
My name is Steve Brody. I live at 156 Beacon Street, Plattsburgh, New York. First, I want to give thanks to the city PD. I had a situation where I locked myself out of the car, and Officer Tripp did a great job, and he opened it up, and I think it's a great service that the city PD gives, and I think they should be recognized and thanked for it. Second thing, like everybody's interested in the crate, my one question is, why are we demolishing it? Why not see if somebody wants to buy it as is? Also, in regards to the crate, I think the crate was doomed from the beginning because it was against the wishes of the benefactors, and the city misused the funds, to my mind. The crate is too small for concerts and too large for school events. It needs to be a medium-sized project and something built and designed for it. What it's being used for now, the youth, is exactly what the crate brothers wanted, but we need something more proportionally correct. And I thought the money spent on demolishing could better be used towards planning and building in a proper location that will appeal to the people. And last, I want to congratulate on the budget. I thought the budget was great. I remember Mr. Kelly, he fought so hard to save 2% because he explained to me as the city budget goes down, it increases people wanting to come to the city, and the lower the tax base, the better it is. Which leads to the question of something that I and former council have worked on, and I'd like to see somebody from the city pick up the ball on that idea. Is a service fee. I had talked with the city chamberlain at one time, and we had went over the numbers, and the city and the council have the ability to lower the property taxes of every single citizen and business in the entire city of Plattsburgh by 20 to 30%. By switching from a tax-based service to a service fee. You want growth, you want development. Mr. Kelly fought hard for 2%. I know that you've gone through the budget process and tried to keep it down to 1.5%. But if you can lower the taxes 20 to 30%, why aren't we doing it? And that's it. Thank you,
Sir. Anyone else would like to address the council on any topic?
Hi, I'm Linda Harwood, 39 Palmer Street. I stand here once again to ask that you table the vote to hire a company to demolish the Crate Recreation Center. Our recreation department in the city of Plattsburgh, if we do have one, would then be reduced to the sole purpose of charging soccer clubs fees for the use of the fields and $40 to line the fields. We have businesses expanding that are finding it hard to fulfill positions available. People are passing us over because of the lack of recreational opportunities for their children. This causes them to look elsewhere. Our indoor playing area and its use will no longer be available. Instead, we'll have a 10 feet of fill on the footprint of the former Crate Center, where there will be 2 complete soccer fields, according to a council person I spoke with today. We have a structurally sound building. I quote from the 2016 waterfront feasibility study, quote, from a structural perspective, the building is in excellent condition and should continue to be serviceable for many years. This study was done after the ice rink had broken down and the floors have all these problems that I've been hearing about. But yet they, at that time, said it was structurally sound. I don't know that it has changed. Also, please take into consideration, the Clinton County Legislature has agreed, pending on tonight's discussion, to appropriate $100,000 and most possibly more to help to restore the Crate Center, according to legislator Bob Hall. Billy Jones is also on board with another $100,000. Apparently, there's $1 million available for development around the city. We do not need any more pop-up parks. We need to take care of the ones we already have with programs for interactive activities where the children learn to play sports with one another and in a manner to achieve goals and experience the joy of doing their best. Please choose to take more time to look at this resource and the possibility of saving it. There are people in the community willing to help make this possible. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic?
Yes.
And thank you, Linda. My name is Nancy Olson, and I am here in support of saving the Crate Recreation Center. The 1,700 youth who participate in the soccer program have a temporary soccer play facility for this winter. But what about the future? A new facility cannot possibly be completed by next year. These youth, grade schoolers through high school, need a facility to enjoy the game they love. It provides not only wonderful exercise, but friendship, building self-confidence, and above all, fun. It's not an elite game. They don't need $100 hockey sticks or skates or pads or helmets. They want to play soccer. It's also a mental health issue, and I don't know if anybody's considered that, about the time that these children spent watching their classes in Zoom or sitting with masks or trying to do a physical education class while you're sitting home. I have no clue how they ever taught phys ed over a TV with nobody else to play with. There's also anger issues that are occurring in our community. I don't know if you've noticed people driving like crazy, passing everybody because they want to get to wherever they're going, but they end up stopping right where you are because the next traffic light is there. There's domestic violence issues. On wiring the other day, I think there were 6 or 7 issues of domestic violence, and children were there at the time. This is happening to our youth. They need to have a place to enjoy, to be with the other children, to have fun. It's not about the score or anything. It's about enjoyment and relaxing, building self-confidence. There's also been a use of weapons lately. Guns don't seem to be the choice. It's knives. It's easy to get a knife. And then we talked about the demolition. One report said it was $300,000 to fix the Crate Center and $1 million to demolish it. Now it's turned around the other way. If you consider where this demolition debris goes, it might be going just in our backyard. If you notice, I don't know, excuse me, but I walk over by the field house at the college. And it's a very nice wetland here with beaver, but it's not a federal wetland, so it's not really protected. But lately, they've been using, and this is not on a college property, this area for demolition debris. They dig a big hole, they dump in all the cement blocks, all the other stuff, they bring in the sand, cover it up, and nobody knows it's there except if you go over and if you're a walker or a biker. There's birds nesting there, there's frogs, and some of that water eventually goes into the Saranac River. There's grants, and Linda mentions grants possibly from the county. Somebody gave $100,000 for the skate park, the Penfield Park. Well, 1,700 kids don't use that. So I know most of you don't want it fixed, but there's other grants. And unfortunately, your DRI could have been used for recreation, but that wasn't part of the goal. Maybe we could change the name of the Crate Center. We've got people around here that have money. Maybe they would like it in their name to save it. So and I also would like to thank the mayor for changing the topic, for allowing the milkweed and the pollinating flowers to grow at the Crate Center in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Which saved hours and hours of weed whacking and gasoline and time, and hopefully we had some butterflies. Good event. Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to address the council on any topic?
Few more real quick. I just want to put on the crate also, back in early 21. The mayor first took office, he had said that we had to have a really frank, straightforward community conversation for what the crate would look like. And it has to happen sooner than later. Well, that conversation never happened. And this spring, when we had the fire, which really wasn't a catastrophic fire as it was described, turned out to be a $30,000 or $40,000 fix. And then Billy Jones came forward and said he'd give $100,000 to fix this, but I think 40,000. And so if there had been more damage, then he said the insurance can cover all that and sell that. And then we had the tour, and I went to the first one, and when we were talking outside, the people outside were saying, well, what if we can raise the money to get it fixed? They're talking about 350,000 to get the things that needed to be done. And I remember the mayor standing there and he went, if you can do it, great. But then by the next day, the legislators were told, don't bother, we're tearing it down. Billy Jones told, don't bother, we're tearing it down. So I don't really see where there was much of a community conversation for the people to have some input, and also some of the things that Bob Smith had mentioned about whether or not we've had conversations on community sharing the costs or revenue sources that can be put into it. So I think these things are still unanswered, and I don't think the people have had enough input at this point. Also, instead in the old report, I think 16, that it said to tear it down, we didn't say to tear it down. They got a choice to either repair it or tear it down. It didn't say tear it down. Okay. That was the 15 feasibility study. And also you said we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. But according to something that somebody had, it was the last 15 years of an average of $33,000 that we lost, which isn't a huge amount of money when you think about it, considering some of the other money that we spend. Another topic I wanted to bring up was on the agenda tonight for another 1.1 million on parks. I don't really understand why we're ready to borrow another 1.1 million when I don't even know if there's a plan yet or what's gonna happen to the parks, or what you're gonna spend it on. Originally, you said we were gonna spend about $500,000 a year for 3 years, which was gonna be ARPA money. So I'd like to see that table. I don't see any reason why we should be passing that tonight, to borrow more money when we haven't even started figuring out how we're gonna spend the first 3 years worth of money. As far as the budget, these are some things I brought up last year. We're hiring more people, it looks like, that I saw in the budget. There's no money put aside for the farmers market repairs. I didn't see that there was any money for infrastructure maintenance, except I think I heard it mentioned there was 50,000 to do some sidewalks, but that's the thing I heard.
We've had all kinds of contract negotiations. I didn't hear us anything for the city, getting anything in the contract negotiations to improve efficiencies or save any money in any of the departments. We've done a lot of promoting. All these things don't go away. They just keep adding up. Salaries, benefits. That's what got us in trouble a few years ago. So not really too happy about seeing all these extra expenses. We've had the assessments go up 2 years in a row. We've had the taxes we get from the county go up. And it seems like our general fund is the same as it was back in the beginning of 21, so I don't know where all this extra money is gone. We're doing a lot of borrowing. And I just feel like we gotta be really careful. We're spending a lot of money. I'm not really happy about some of the things we did. I'm trying to see what else I have. We still have the Margaret Street project that we don't know how much we're gonna have to borrow for that. People's assessments have gone up. People are paying more already. We say the taxes went down, taxes didn't really go down, a lot of people's taxes went up. We're losing $400,000 during the second ambulance. Wouldn't that be nice if we put that money for fixing the crate? Water rates are gonna be going up because of the Lake Country Village project, so there's a lot of things to be looking at, there's a lot of money being spent. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to council on any topics?
Yeah, see, great, any place to drive. And I really didn't have time to be prepared, so I apologize for being more disorganized than I usually am, but that's sorry, I want to talk about this great. Yeah, first of all, I'm confused about costs now because I had heard of cost and I thought it was one to demolish, three to fix it, but now I'm hearing all kinds of things. So, but that's really beside the point, I think. That the crate is a facility the city has, and it has it to provide recreation, and that's what it was always supposed to be for. And it costs money to have the facility, and we should be paying money to have a city, to have recreation, to have a facility for recreation. We should be paying money for recreation. But I think it's fair to look at the recreation is that it provides and who it provides that recreation to. And see if we had that money to spend on some other way of providing recreation that might have better. So I mean, I'm not sure of everything, but I know the crate provides recreation for kids who like to play soccer. And the number I thought was 1,500, maybe it's 1,700. But a significant percentage of them, I think, are not city kids. They're kids that live in other places. They live in one of the towns surrounding the town. So the city is providing a facility for those kids too. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are some other things that are done as flag football that are mostly adults, I think, mostly men, probably. So that's another thing that is done, but it is recreation, and I'm not sure the percentage of those people that are city residents versus town. So are we spending this money? Because it's going to continue to cost money, whether we fix it, and even if it's fixed and it doesn't cost the same to fix it, it still costs money every year to keep that facility in maintained. So could we spend that money somewhere else that would give the kids somewhat kids, honestly? Could we spend it somewhere else that would give them more opportunities for recreation? And I think that's a good question to ask. And the idea that I heard that sounded good was, let's at least for a while partner with the YMCA. The YMCA has two facilities now. One of them is very large. And also, I have nothing against soccer, believe me, and kids, but I would point out that there are, kids can play soccer outdoors from May to October. And we provide facilities for that, we should provide facilities for that. In the winter time, okay, they don't have a place to do it, but what about kids that don't play soccer? What about kids that want to play basketball? What about kids that want to play volleyball? What about kids that want to swim? What about kids that want to do strength training? What about kids that want to do aerobic training in the winter? What about kids that want to learn to do ballroom dance? Okay, you know, these are all things that you can teach kids to do. They are recreation, and they would appeal to a wide range of kids. And I think the partnering with YMCA may give us some opportunity to do that. At no charge to the kids, if we're willing to give money to the YMCA to do it. And some of that money could come from money saved by not having great. So again, I understand what people are saying, and again, I'm still confused. Maybe we can get some clarification on cost, because I'm totally confused now about what I've been reading and hearing about cost. And I have no objection really to taking our time and maybe getting some more. But that's how I feel. Let's have a program that gives every kid a chance. Not just soccer players, and not just kids that have the money, whose parents have the money to pay for them to use that facility, because they do have to pay for them to use it. So let's think about doing something different. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on any topic?
Hey guys, what's tonight?
Good, are you?
I kind of looked at the Create Center as a loss of revenue. You have that big parking lot all summer long, and you have the bathroom where it's a pump here, they're about 5, 6 of them each year, and you allow them to park in the grass over by the boat launch. Why aren't you charging them worse than the parking lot for the using that revenue to go back into the Create Center? That's Paul's question. I would like to know an answer.
Yeah, we're not,
Why?
sorry, we're just not gonna do that exchange right now. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, I think that there's a lot of lost revenue where you can actually have the Burlington, that you're losing to Burlington, because when those bathrooms come down here, they're not staying here. There's no hotels, nothing. They're going right over to Burlington and parking in their boat launches. They're spending all their money downtown. And I think if you were to permit them and force them to park in the parking lot at the Create Center, being that there's a massive amount of individuals that do those tournaments, drive up a lot of revenue, and a parking lot that's just sitting vacant all summer long. So I think there's a lot more avenues down in that Create Center that you can use to drive up money over the next couple of years that you can put back into that facility, which you can go back into recreation, and a lot of people have it there now. So that's just my thought on that. So if you guys could at least listen to me on possibly permitting and charging those tournaments when they come up here, instead of just giving away, you know, a lot of revenue. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on any topic? All right, seeing none, we'll now go on to committee reports. Each standing committee is chaired by a counselor. I now call upon that chairperson of each committee, starting with city operations, Councilor Bob.
We did have our meeting this past Monday. We've got a couple items tonight on the agenda, most of which pertain to city events in 2023. But we do also have a pretty exciting one regarding some engagement software that would really help with promoting community engagement, ways to communicate with the council, ways to get your voices heard, and ways to interact more during the meetings and things like that. So excited to see that on the agenda. Nothing further.
Finance and economic development, we just had our meeting last Thursday, item 7246 through 7255 are on tonight's agenda for consideration. City Infrastructure's council, man.
We just had our meeting a week ago, and we brought forth 2 items to the regular agenda. That's all I have.
I think so. Let's see. Public safety, Councilor Canales.
Final committee meeting will be this Monday of the year.
Thank you. We'll now move on to liaison reports, Placer Public Library, Councilor Town.
Nothing to report. Tuesday's meeting was canceled.
And Placer Municipal Light Department, Councilor Good.
Nothing to report. Our December meeting was canceled.
Mr. Sneller, anything for staff members or executive session?
No reports.
There are no special committee reports. I'll now report on the council approved payrolls for the various city departments, city of Plattsburgh for the week ending December 14th, 2022, in the amount of $604,297,048. I'll also report on the audit of claims, the bills audited by the common council for the week ending, for the weeks ending December 9th, 2022, in the amount of $3,299,559.37. And for December 16th, 2022, in the amount of $958,747.15. Before voting on the following resolutions, I'll note that the majority of these resolutions have been thoroughly discussed by the appropriate committee members and department heads. We're now taking action on these items in large part due to the recommendation of those committees. Ms. Carlin, will you please read the titles of the resolutions to be acted upon?
Item 7.235, authorized budget adjustments 2023 general water and debt service fund budget.
Motion, Councilor Canales, second, Councilor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Council Canales?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
Yes.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.236, approve city of Plattsburgh's 2023 budget.
Motion, Councilor Canales, second, Councilor Bob, discussion.
well, that's one thing to say. Now, I've heard this called a balanced budget. It's balanced on the back of the homeowners. The assessments went up 6.282% this year. That the homeowners that I talked to, and it's not hundreds, it's not scientific, but there were scores of people that I talked to. All the homeowners that I talked to, their assessment went up double digits. So that's a direct tax increase. It will also reflect on the school tax, which we're not here to talk about tonight. But this is a direct tax increase. It's kind of a backdoor tax increase in that it doesn't look like we raised those taxes here. But in fact, like mine went up 19%. So to say that we decreased taxes 4%, it doesn't really ring very true to me because I'm gonna pay 15% more. And what it tells me is the average assessment raise was 6.82%. Tells me that some people made out like bandits because the people who paid double digits, some people didn't pay any increases. That's a very uneven taxing. So it's no surprise to me that 15% less, we have 15% less home ownership than in the state as a whole. We're pricing people right out of being able to own homes. The average income, household income is $51,000 here in the city. You can't buy $160,000, which is the average price of a home here in the city. So the majority of people are priced right out of home ownership. And I think we're contributing to that by increasing people's taxes. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that we have done enough to mitigate that. So to the people who made out great, didn't have their taxes go up, or actually had a tax decrease, that leaves the rest of us to pick up the slack. And for that reason, I'm going to be voting no on the budget.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, excuse me. One of the things I wanted to see on this budget was a 2% decrease, and that did not happen. WPTZ just covered something earlier this week about the state of New York State. Clinton County, Franklin County, Essex County are the poorest counties in all of New York. We're just underneath Franklin County, and when we don't actively look to bring down the tax burden, and when we load, I'm looking at all of the fees that we are trying to use as revenue. We are making it nearly impossible for struggling families to make ends meet. And I am also going to vote no on this budget.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canales?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
No.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
No,
Carried.
Item 7.237, authorizing range and step adjustment for PO director.
Councilor Bob, second, by Councilor Canales, roll call.
Council Canales?
No.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon,
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
No,
Yes,
Yes, Mayor, yes.
carried.
Item 7.238, authorizing range and step adjustment cheap water filtration plant operator.
Motion. Counselor, sorry, who? Sorry, Counselor Canales, roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
no,
Carried.
Item 7.239, authorizing award of preliminary and final design phase for the Cornelia Street rehabilitation project.
Motion by Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yeah,
Carried.
I'm sorry, did you say yes or no?
Yes, yes for more. Thank you.
Item 7.240, authorized travel request, environmental manager.
Motion, Counselor Kelly, second by Counselor Canales. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.241, authorized drinking water infrastructure improvements project, CDM Smith, phase 2 engineering design.
Motion, Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.242, authorized drinking water infrastructure improvements project, CDM Smith, amendment number 5, construction administration services for phase 1.
Motion. Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.243, authorized proposal, CDM Smith water filtration plant filter backwash treatment option.
Motion, Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Kelly, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.244, authorized CDM Smith water filtration plant operations assessment.
Motion, Counselor Canales, second by Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.245, authorized change order 1 to Stantec Consulting Services for updating PORP air state facilities permit.
Motion, Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yeah, this is 7.244.
245.
I'm gonna vote yes on this, but I do not know why we are still doing this, because I went up and took a look at that facility. I don't see any way in hell we could ever use that as a drying beds at any time in the near future, but,
We maintain the permit. That's what this is.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't know why, I guess, I don't see it as ever being functional, but, okay.
Any further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, we just roll call. All right, carried. Thank you.
Item 7.246, approval of 2023 rate increases in the building inspector's office.
Motion, Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon,
No.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
No,
Mayor.
Carried.
Item 7.247, authorizing revising capital project H5110.92, 2022 equipment purchase fire department.
Motion, Counselor Bob, second. Counselor Canales, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.248, adopt updated parks and outdoor sports field management policy.
Motion, Counselor Kelly, second by Counselor Canales, discussion.
yeah, all the surrounding communities don't charge anything for using sports fields. I guess philosophically, I can't get behind anything where we're charging the kids to play on ball fields. So that's how I feel about it. And I think it's great that the kids can get out there and play, and that's something that is good that we provide, and we should continue to do that for no fee.
Just clarification, we looked at the town of Plattsburgh's sports field use policy and their charging fee, and they actually do charge for field use. Independent third party field use, so. Sure. Also, just keep in mind, like, we can't just give things away for free, it's legally some obligation, we have some legal obligation to charge for these field uses, especially where obligating that field to a particular organization, you're not able to do that for free. So there's a minimal field use charge for that's included in this policy. Any further discussion?
I think I remember there was a resolution like this earlier in
Correct.
the year, but you ended up withdrawing it
Correct.
because of the.
The discussion, we
Yeah.
had a discussion with the sports organizers. This field use policy was sent to them before it has come to this board for comments and feedback. We had received some comments and responded to those people who did provide comments and questions about this policy. And subsequent changes were made based on those comments and concerns.
The parents are consulted and everything for their input.
Well, we contact the sports league organizers and not individual parents. The sports league organizers are the ones that are going to have to implement or follow this policy and work with our Department of Public Works. Now, mind you, it's not just a one-sided policy, this does obligate the city to a number of regular scheduled maintenance, the organization of field, the organization of the schedule for each field as well. And then any updates and upgrades that we need to do on a regular basis throughout the season. We take that onus off of the leagues.
I reviewed the policy and I really did think it was very fair. I mean, ideally, wouldn't it be great if we could not charge for these things, but there does need to be some sort of nominal fee. And it seemed like this policy was redeveloped with that kind of feedback in mind. I did notice the differences. I appreciated that.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
No.
Council Talon? No. Council Bob?
Yes,
Council Moore?
No,
Yes, please.
Mayor?
Carried.
Item 7.249, crate crank demolition seeker negative declaration.
Motion, Councilor Kelly, second to Councilor Bob. Discussion.
yeah, I had one thing that we just found out yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to delve too deeply into it. It's, somebody was telling me, a credible person, but it's Ansadolo, I didn't get a chance to go out and check that myself, but that property in that area was once an Indian encampment, and I guess somebody said there's a plaque on the walking trail out there, on the Heritage Trail, that says that. I don't believe we explored that, if it affects the crate demolition in any way, shape or form, but I do think that's something that should be looked into, because this person told me that they found pottery in there, and I don't know the exact location. Guy told me that the Smolchen Creek did not run directly into the lake at one time. It went along parallel to the road and went into the lake at another location, and that was one of the main places where the Indians were. I could not identify where that was, and like I said, I just heard this yesterday. But I think it should be looked into to ensure that if we aren't stepping on some Indian artifact in that area. That's just my comment.
I have a comment on that. I actually took that 3-hour tour of the beach that was offered shortly after I had started on council. It was sometime last fall, and it was a very in-depth historical history and provided detailed history on the place. And that location that you're talking about is actually not in the vicinity of the Creek Center. I remember it very well. And also, I think we did discuss that there was an archaeological review.
Yes.
And it was determined that there was nothing of significant archaeological value in that area that will be impacted by the creek.
Right.
Okay, but that was something that did come up in our discussion, so I just wanted to revisit that.
Yes, and that was part of the implementation plan, that was done, that archaeological, analysis or site review was done, as part of that implementation plan, outline, along with a number of other geotechnical surveys and, consulting, services provided. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal,
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibb,
No.
Council Talon, no. Council Bob,
Yes,
Council Moore,
No,
Mayor.
Yes, please. Carried.
Item 7.250, award of lowest responsible bid for Creighton Center demolition.
Motion, Councilor Canal, second, Councilor Bob, discussion.
Yes, I have a number of things. There were several questions I had last week about the demolition contract. None of them were answered. And we're moving forward. We'll see. Number one is, I asked for a copy of a clear deed. We don't have it. It was not provided. We have no structural engineer report. This is something that's been said over and over again. I want to point out to the public that we're losing the thread of a major part of this conversation, which is that building does not service just athletics. It services any kind of community event that we would want to host, Comic-Con, Building Expo.
Yeah, nuclear. It's abolished.
Please, sorry, please don't worry, thank you.
Apologies.
And the list can go on. It has potential to be the place for other things. We have the ability to demolition this building for $385,000, or we could take the ARPA money that we have. We could take the offer for the DASNY money. We could engage the community. We could take the county legislature up on their offer. We could assemble stakeholders and we could do this right. We could do it right. We could do what I think the community wants, but we don't really know what the community wants because this should have gone to a ballot referendum. That's the only way this city is going to know what the residents really want. We do have some people who show up and we have some people who reach out to us, but a ballot referendum would be the way to know what the city wants. There's something else that I wanted to bring up, that if the overarching goal is that the property is going to be developed as part of this larger beachfront plan, we spend that $385,000 on a demolition. I think we are also missing an opportunity to be pursuing grants, to take that money as match grant funding for a wider vision of the property. The New York State Canal Corporation, New York State Parks Environmental Protection Fund, Department of State Local Waterfront Revitalization Brownfield projects. It could be leveraged to do other things that are part of the wider picture. And I think that we have not fully explored all those other options and that we are moving too fast on this. And I think that we should not vote on this tonight. Maybe the building is going to get demolition, but I think that we don't have enough information. We don't really know what the city residents want. And I think we're rushing through on this. First and foremost, the deed, the structural engineering report, and possibility for using that money for grants to turn that property into something that we want. I think we're rushing through this.
Any further discussion?
yeah, well, I just wanted to point out too that, you know, we don't make any money on the parks either. We're gonna be spending, proposing to spend 2.6 million on the parks. We make no money on the parks. We don't make money on the Creighton Center, and we shouldn't. It's a service that we provide for the people who live in the city of Plattsburgh. And a lot of people are very proud of that center, and it has been used for a lot of things in the past, not just for sports. That we can defray some of the expenses is great, but we should never think of things that we have, and parks included, that we're gonna make money off of that. We aren't. Those are things that we provide for the community, for making a better place to live. And I think when you try to frame this as something, it should be something that makes money. No, it will never make money, and it shouldn't. It's something that's provided for the people of Plattsburgh, and I think many of them enjoy it or have enjoyed it. And to just abandon it while it's still in structural good shape is a mistake. That's my opinion. And I don't think it would cost that much. I think the estimates that we've formulated are not correct. I think it would be able to put that building back in operation at far less than $4 million. I would say less than half of that. So that's my opinion.
Any further conversation? Yes,
Yeah.
Councilor Now.
So, this building certainly has a lot of problems, and, the problems go back to all the way from when it was built in the first place. My mother actually told me that her uncle was one of the electricians that was on the crew that built it, and, she told me that he almost walked off on the job about 3 times just because a lot of corners were being cut and just, perhaps the building just was not built as well as it could have been. I guess underneath the ground, there's been some shifts and everything, and so perhaps that's resulted in some of the problems. But it's gonna cost a lot to fix that building if people really do want it to be fixed. The roof needs to be replaced entirely, and just that's a big roof. That's gonna cost a lot. But I am all in favor of, just this being taken out of our hands entirely. If the county wants it, if they want to take control of it, then I say let them. And that's what I have to say.
Yes, Councilor,
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Councilor Gill.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clear up one thing, and that is what's it gonna cost to fix this place? The estimate that we've been given over the years, and this has been for many years, is $4 million. And we have some members of our council who don't seem to believe that, and that, that's okay, but I'd like to tell you where that $4 million comes from. There was a company, engineering consulting firm, McFarland and Johnson. They're a legitimate firm. I've also heard people say, well, they're, who are they? But they're a company we've used on numerous occasions to help us out with projects here in the city. And they did an estimate of what it would cost to fix the building and also to demolish it. But the construction cost, they estimated back in 2016 was $1.83 million. They also said that it would take another additional $900,000 to replace the roof. So that comes to a total of $2.73 million, and that was in 2016 dollars. So if we wanted to bond that money today, let's say, the public would end up paying a lot more than it would have in 2016 because of interest rates on and also the price of materials. So I think the $4 million figure may actually be a little bit low. So they go on to tell you some of the things that needed to be done there in 2016, and they've gotten no better since then in the past 6 years. So they talk about the electrical installation needing new 5 kV switchgear, a new medium voltage transformers, a new secondary disconnect switch, as well as new secondary distribution switchboards and panel boards. New receptacles and lighting will be installed along with associated cabling and conduit. A new fire alarm panel system, lighting control panel, and PA system would also be installed. New telecommunications cabling and devices would also be included in the new work. So you can imagine, as you listen to this list of things that this company wanted to do for us, how much that would cost. It would just keep adding up, and I think the $4 million estimate again is kind of low. They also said that the heating and cooling equipment, the air handling system, all needed to be replaced, and they included the rooftop units. So that's also very, very costly. And I guess I've maintained throughout that when you're done with that work, that $4 million plus that it's going to cost, what do you have? What do you have? Yeah, you have a facility where kids can play soccer. Yeah, that's good. You have you have a place where you could probably have thoroughfares and that sort of thing, but. Again, if we bond $4 million to fix it, then the city's even more in the hole. You know, we think we're losing $33,000 a year now, and for the past 15 years, we've been losing that average amount of money each year. So you can imagine how much that would go up if we're, you know, paying annual fees for borrowing the money to fix it. So I just maintain that, you know, it's time to say goodbye to that beautiful facility and let's march into the future together. We have a lot of plans for other types of recreation here in the city. I heard a gentleman say tonight that would it be great if recreation could include things like ballroom dancing, square dancing, all sorts of things. I think that'd be wonderful too. What a great idea. But, you know, you can have ballroom dancing up on the third floor. This has been a whole building if you choose to. So, again, thanks for that suggestion. Something we should look into. That's
Well,
all.
I'd just like to reiterate, we have no real world estimates of what these things would cost. That's a big guesstimate, a $4 million figure. That is not, I heard from somebody who was not to a roofer, that could be done, the roof could be done for way less than $1 million. I know that number's been thrown out there so many times. I'm just saying, we have no real world quotes on what it would cost to do some of these large, big ticket items, so. We just don't know.
We do that.
Okay.
Let's have some of these other councilors on the platform, and then we can come back if we need to.
Sure.
Councilor Bob.
Couple things I just wanted to comment on. So we talked, somebody mentioned that, you know, the Crete has only been losing $33,000 a year. Just to be clear, over 15 years, that is $495,000. So it's not like it's a pit. I'm going to read what I said in an email to somebody today, just because that will help me keep my thoughts organized, and I will respond to some of the things the other counselors said as I go. This building has been unattended and unkept for so long that it is no longer of value for any of the things it could or should have been used for. Rather than bringing value to our city, it has run at a deficit for well over a decade, with the only exception being 2016, when it made just over 200 in revenue, which, as we know, is a pittance. Now, I agree that not everything the city needs to provide is something that should build revenue. Obviously, there are services we would provide, but the burden and expense and labor of the Crete maintenance is no longer something that the city can or should carry. And the cost to turn it into anything of worth is exorbitant. Not to mention that the original construction, as Jen brought up, was pretty poor. That is a fact. So that's why it failed in its original intended use and why it has continued to poorly serve the other uses it has been assigned. At this point, due to safety and health concerns, it is not being used at all. As far as the legacy of the Crete brothers, they never intended it to be located where it is. And there are many who feel that its placement was a blow to their vision for the center. I believe the plans that are being considered for the use of that space are much more attractive as a draw to and feature of the city. And while I understand the passion some feel against demolition, people need to understand that there are others who feel differently. I have gotten a lot of feedback in favor of this demolition and only a few contacts against it. In addition, the survey run by the Press Republican showed the community being highly divided, as we are on many issues, but with a slight majority for demolition. And of course, as Councilor Gibbs said, that's not an actual referendum, but it is an indicator, and it's an indicator that does matter. So I just want to put those things out there. That is why I will be voting.
Any further discussion?
It only to me is an indicator that we need to have a ballot referendum.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal,
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibb,
No,
Council Talon. No. Is it no?
No, it's a no.
Council Bob,
Yeah,
Council Moore,
No,
Yes, please. Carried.
Item 7.251, authorizing revising capital project H5 110.91, 2022 Crate Center demolition.
Motion, Councilor Canales, second, Councilor Kelly, discussion.
yes, I have a question on, the supporting document that we got for that. It references $10,575 for oversight and management. Who's going to be doing that?
So that was paid for already, and that was funding that went to KAS as part of their demo consulting contract and oversight contract. As council knows, we also had them review the RFPs, help select the lowest responsible bidder of those RFPs, which was, I think was just approved. Yes. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just had one comment. I thought, I thought originally we were gonna do this in over 3 years. And it's gonna be 500,000 1 year, 500,000.
This is the Craig Center demolition. This is not the
Oh,
Parks and Rec
oh,
project.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I better heard it. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
No.
Council Talon?
No.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
No.
Mayor?
Yes, please. Thank you. Carried.
Item 7.252, authorizing bond issuance to pay for parks renewal upgrade.
Motion by Councilor Canal, a second. Councilor Bob, discussion.
So I asked last week at the finance meeting, what this increase was for.
This is this is not an increase. This is the bond that the council has already approved as part of the original approval of the capital project H5110.88. This is the approval to issue the $1 million bond. It is not a increase on another $1.5 million to spend or borrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
No,
Council Talon? Yes. Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.253, authorizing revising capital project H5110.88, 2022 parks maintenance and upgrade.
Motion, Councilor Canal, is second. Councilor Kelly. Discussion.
so this,
Now,
Jump in there. Jump in there. So the original plan, which we had discussed, was to look at the changes that were being proposed by the design and engineering firm to hopefully spread those out. What we're starting to see is based on the designs that are coming back, we're going to need an additional injection because of how poor our parks are. And to get them up to speed, using the rest of the ARPA funds that are allocated in this resolution. We certainly see that, and Andrew's in the back, we certainly see that the proposed changes are not gonna be fully funded with this, but we will be able to chip away at a significant amount of those improvements right up front, and then look for the subsequent years to maintain those improvements. And then maintain anything new that we may be adding to that park removal project.
we did not get any documentation though about what those upgrades incorporate. I brought this up at the finance meeting last week, so where is the
It's
documentation?
the designs are still being created,
So-
Counselor, besides the parks report that we have put out and revised multiple times outlining the significant issues that our parks face. Due to the ongoing lack of funding over the years, this does correct a lot of those issues.
So we're voting on a resolution and we don't have the designs. Is that correct?
We are voting on a resolution to fund the Parks Renewal project based on previous discussions that we have had, along with the documentation provided to council regarding the parks report that does outline those issues that not only the Parks Renewal project is addressing, but also additional changes that are being made. Or proposed, made additional changes that are being proposed.
May I?
Please.
I guess in my whole time of being a counselor, one of the frequent things I've heard are that we have problems in our farms, big problems, the playgrounds, for example, or sometimes unusual because the equipment is in disrepair. And, children can't play there. And I go by the Melissa Penfield Park just about every day. And especially in the summer, you see lots and lots of people playing there with their children in the playgrounds. And it's such a heartwarming thing to see. And to hear that we can't provide that across the entire city at all times because, such and such equipment and so park is not working. It's really sad. The bathrooms at the South Platte Park in my neighborhood are unusable. I'd love to see them restored and, put back into use. I'd love to see all the playground equipment be functional and even have newer playground equipment. It's an industry that seems to evolve. The playground equipment is getting better and better all the time. So like to see us sort of be on the cutting edge of that. And the main reason I feel that way is because we want to have a city where people want to live. People want to recreate and, you know, do things like have picnics and play at the playground. And after a day of work, come home to your kids, nothing better than taking them to the park. As you probably know. So I've been an advocate for putting money aside in the budget for many, many years to do the ongoing maintenance and repairs and upgrades that need to be done. And I am so happy that Mayor Rosenquist gave this a platform because his time in office to do that. And I support this 100%. I can't wait to see the outcome. Thank you.
This, quite frankly, this will be transformational for our parks. I don't think I've seen any administration previous dump a straight $2.6 million into parks and Rec. People want park, people want green space, talk about recreation, that have accessible recreation right around the corner that you can go and kick a soccer ball, whether you're on the league or not, or hit a baseball with your buddies, whether you're on league or not. That's what this is about. Our parks are in gross disrepair. I remember right before we put out the parks report, and it's emotional. Going down to Hamilton Park, the only park that neighborhood has, ripping out playground equipment. Irresponsible. Irresponsible. So folks who were like, well, take care of what you got. Well, that's what this is. That's what this is. Make no mistake. If you want to talk about taking care of what we got, we'll put money into it. Otherwise, don't complain about how things look. So get off my high horse, get off my soapbox, but this is where the future of Plattsburgh is. It is in our parks, it is in our green space. Those are quality of life issues, those are recreational opportunities year round. And this is an economic driver for us.
And I just want to add, when it comes to prevention standpoint, from the concept of mental health or substance use, parks that are in disrepair are such a high risk factor for city. It is places where people gather to get into trouble. And I mean, they are these poorly maintained, poorly, supervised and monitored areas are literal flags for the kind of trouble that we're trying to avoid and tamp down. So if we want to promote good mental health, we want to promote recovery and substance wellness, this is a step. You may not see the connection, but it really is. This is how we start to make those improvements.
Any further discussion?
Perhaps in the future, there'll be some better private-public ventures for some of these nonprofit organizations in the city and be willing to pour into the community with donations or even possibly workforce that bring this to fruition. But I for one have backed the mayor on this 100% from day one because we're all here for the same things, for the children, for the legacy of the city. And to have things in gross disrepair how it has been, we would do better. So that's what this is. It is doing that.
Right, and as far as what's going to be done, like the mayor said, we've had that parks report, which clearly outlines the things that need to be done. So this is how we get started on that block.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal,
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibbs,
No,
Council Talon.
Yes.
Council Bob,
yes,
Council Moore.
No,
Carried.
Item 7.254, authorized cooperative administrative agreements for community development revolving loan fund.
Motion by Councilor Canal, second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal,
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibbs,
yes,
Council Talon.
Yes.
Council Bob,
yes,
Council Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.255, authorized mayor to attend NICOM 2023 conferences, legislative meetings.
Motion. Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Canal. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal.
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibbs.
yes,
Council Talon.
yes,
Council Bob.
yes,
Council Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.256, authorized budget transfer 2022 closing entry for government fund.
Motion. Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Canal. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal.
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibbs.
yes,
Council Talon.
yes,
Council Bob.
yes,
Council Moore.
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.257, approval of rate increases in the city clerk's office.
Motion, Counselor Kelly, sorry, Counselor Canal, second by Counselor Bob, discussion. Roll call. Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, just to point out, to those in the public that may have looked at these increases and been a little taken aback by some that seem like quite a leap. The ones that are very large increases are ones that haven't been updated since 2017. So we're in about a 5-year deficit with that. The intention is to adjust them slightly every year so that there isn't this kind of a leap, but that didn't happen, so this is what we're dealing with now. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I just wanted to state that I'm not agreeable to these. I see the hauler license going to $1,000, no big deal for Casellas. But for the small little mom and pop haulers, I believe this is a little bit much. Some people don't pick up a lot. They have a pickup truck. I see them going around with a wagon behind them, and I think that was a bit much. And I was really shocked to see that we charge people for removing stumps from their yards. I don't think most people actually paying attention to this and don't pay it. But if it's going from $290 to $450, it costs a fair amount of money to get your stumps removed. And to pay $450 for the city to do nothing other than to collect the money, I think that's kind of outrageous. I don't think we should be charging anything for people removing their stumps. You know, I just thought that was ridiculous. So,
Any further discussion?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The one with the taxis, that's going to hurt cab companies, and what they're going to do is they're going to just, if they can't raise the rates inside the city, because I believe they need council approval to raise rates inside the city, but they will raise the rates outside of the city, and that's gonna hurt people a lot, and a lot of people depend on cabs to get to work.
Any further discussion?
I have a question. The hauling fee, how is that going to be enforced?
Is a paid, fee every year. The haulers come to the city clerk and file their paperwork.
What if they don't? What if they're hauling in the city and they're?
Yeah, it's a final offense.
No, but how is it enforced then? If they're hauling and not registered and they never pay, then how?
PD knows who's driving around, DPW knows who's driving around picking up garbage or who's the hauler. That gets confirmed with the clerk's office. If the clerk says, nope, that person isn't licensed to haul in the city of Plattsburgh, they're contacted, let them, they're made known that they're in violation of city code. And to come in and pay the fee. They're given obviously some leniency, as the city does, to rectify the non-payment, and then it's corrected.
Mayor, what time are haulers allowed to come into the city to haul out?
Whenever they want. Whenever they want.
The company.
Okay, yes, gotcha. Thank you. It's the company pays that fee, not the homeowner, and then if the homeowner does, it goes against their insurance. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal,
Yes.
Council Kelly,
Yes.
Council Gibbs,
No,
Council Talon,
No.
Council Bob,
Yes.
Council Moore,
no,
Mayor.
Yes, please. Carried.
Item 7.258, acceptance of public engagement software contract proposal.
Motion by Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canals, discussion.
yeah, I'm still kind of unclear. I know we discussed this at our commission meeting. What exactly does this do?
Courtney even asked if she should be here to explain this
Oh.
thing, and I told her no. Essentially, this is a community engagement platform, so the projects that we have running, renewal project, Margaret Street, any other project that we have, it's a mechanism to not only inform and engage residents, but then also be a lot more proactive with pushing out information, text, email. We also have we already manage our social platforms, but this is another, this is a different way to consolidate all of the projects. And then also, it's a platform for engagement on those particular projects as well. So surveys and that interactive level that we just did not have when it comes to the project that we all manage.
So where is this going to be based on our website? The city website?
Yeah, so it's integrated into the city website. It could also be a standalone, but it does have a link into the city website as well as hooks into our social platform.
Yeah, it's a portal where, and it's a much easier to use portal than trying to navigate the city website, where residents can come and easily get information about projects. They can provide feedback. They'll be easily able to reach out to people that they need to reach out to. When we do want to have public engagement surveys, we'll be able to provide them through here, and it's a lot easier. I spent some time researching this last week and again this week. going and looking on the different websites that offer this and the different kinds of things. And seriously, it's great. It is such a good way to promote community engagement. And the best part about it is it provides analytics that can tell us who is participating and who isn't. So if we notice that there's a group that's very underrepresented, we can work to engage them and get their voices. So to me, it's priceless.
Any further? Oh, yes, please, Councilor Scott.
I've been maintaining a list of 30 or more projects at a time. And plus there probably at least a number that we completed. So would that kind of information end up on this portal?
It potentially could, you know, just, it really depends on how much, what's public, like, what's kind of like more publicly accessible versus what's more confidential internal, kind of work that we do, but yes.
I think I heard some comment tonight that perhaps we can try to engage the public more in these kinds of decisions.
Sure.
And I think that's a good idea. And it sounds like this portal would do it for us. And take all of the things that the council passes and then move them into the sort of implementation phase.
Right.
And that kind of information would be on this portal.
Sure, like, just when you were talking, part of the, like, an idea is like EO2, right, something that we're chipping away at. And we want people to know where we're at with it. It's difficult to have an update once a month if we're doing work on that project. And that requirement over the days, right, so it's, again, it's provides a bit more transparency in the projects that we're doing, a lot more engagement in the projects that we're doing. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
No.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.259, approval of 2023 road closures for city of Plattsburgh event.
Motion by Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canales, discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
Yes.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.260, approval of 2023 beer gardens for city of Plattsburgh event.
Motion. Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Bob, discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
Yes.
Council Talon? Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.261, declaring support for the New York State Climate Action Council scoping. plan.
Motion, Councilor Canales, second. Councilor Gibbs, discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
Yes.
Council Talon? Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.262, authorized contract website hosting of Clinton County.
Motion, Councilor Canales, second. Councilor Bob, discussion. Roll call. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I have a few questions. So we're gonna be paying county $250 a month on a quarterly basis. I read the document, but I was a little unclear on this. So they're gonna be maintaining our website
They do now.
at the county building.
They already do. This is a renewal of that contract.
Got it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
Yes.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.263, authorized budget transfers sewer fund capital reserve.
Motion by Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canales, discussion. Roll call.
Council Canal?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibb?
Yeah.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.264, approving the settlement agreement between Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department and New York, and New York State Electric and Gas.
Motion.
Oh.
Motion by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Kelly, discussion. Give you credit for this one, yeah.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
this matter that was being handled legally for a while, is it okay to talk about it? Well, thank God. We managed to annex 229 acres of prime property to our west, and we see that as a real boon to development in the city, and we got the news that, well, NICEAG didn't really want to give it up. So, you know, part of our plan for developing that property was to be able to use the inexpensive municipal electricity to attract developers. And Boy, that was shock. When we discovered that NICEAG wasn't really eager to give up that rights to that property. So I'm so glad this is on our agenda tonight. I thought it would take years to resolve that. It only took months.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.265, authorizing settlement of property assessment cases filed by Walgreens Eastern Company, Inc., ARC.
Motion by Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Canales. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs? No. Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Okay, so you may recall there was a local law introduced several months ago for the keeping of laying hens within the city of Plattsburgh. That initial version was local law P5 that went up to the county and also to the city planning board. And we received some comments from the city planning board as well as the disapproval from the county planning board. Asking for more enforcement measures, and some more substantive language within that local law. So the comments were taken to heart, the local law was amended, reintroduced, resubmitted to the both boards. The county planning board did not have a forum at their last meeting, but did not issue any comments. So that component has been satisfied as far as statutory piece. But we still have the secret piece. So the city common council is the lead agency on that review. So unfortunately, and since we're well versed in this, we have to go through that part 2 long form assessment again. This again is only on the local law, so it's not a brick and mortar project. It's a legislative act, but we still have that same long form environmental assessment point review with the same 18 questions with the topic questions and sub questions. So with that and having done it in the past 2-3 weeks, we're going to do it again.
It's like, I'd just like to be extremely. I mean, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, can the discussion go on without?
No, I think we just hold up for a minute.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Any Robert, just hold on.
Thank you.
you're never come back in.
Okay, so just to continue, there's a handful of topic questions. If we answer them in the negative, we move on to the next topic question. If we answer them in the affirmative, we go through a variety of sub questions. And if there's any discussion, great, we can have that discussion. The intent is to have a consensus on each item. The two big big questions are yes or no, and then if they lead to, if that results in a yes answer, we'll then have to answer whether the impacts are no or small, as opposed to moderate to large. Sound good? So again, this is on local law P5A, the ability to keep tenants for the city within the control that's set forth in that local law. First question is impact on land. Proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site.
Yes, yes. The people have to build hoops and runs, right?
Okay. So such question A, proposed action may involve construction on land where depth of water table is less than 3 feet. There's no-
I have no idea. I don't know what it takes to build a hoop that would be secure.
So
Why do you-
the end of the local law is no more than 12 by 12. That's the largest it can be, so the size of a small shed. And it's, there's a minimum size based on humanitarian principles for, I believe it was 4 square feet per hen, so it could be much smaller, depends on the map they have. The total number of hens is 6 hens. So these are basically sheds.
But what, the question is about how deep into the ground?
How deep the water table is
Oh.
on the ground.
There's no need for a slab on grade, correct?
Pardon?
But you don't need a concrete pad for the
I'll
shed.
let Joe answer that, but I don't believe so for,
Probably not. I'm guessing that's gonna be it.
You show here?
So if that's the case, then.
Hey, Andrew. Is Joe back there?
What's that?
Is Joe back there?
No, there was not.
I would imagine that,
No.
even if it's a shed, right, so are we impacting the water table? No, probably not. I would imagine not.
Well, I guess the thing to consider too is that these are being built on residential properties that already have homes on them with foundations.
Yeah.
So,
and there's also language within the local law requiring setback from any surface water.
you can't just go and build it at the park. Like,
You know, whatever rains down goes into the water table. You know, a lot of people have cell phones in the city, it's,
so that's unknown. I mean, I guess it's
it's unknown.
unknown that there's so many different properties.
You would,
I don't know how we can answer that. So, what are our options? Yes or no?
Either a no or small impact or moderate to large. impact.
no, I'd say small.
So it's no or small, no or small, okay. Okay, sounds like a consensus.
All right. Proposed action may involve construction on slopes.
That was question 1, by the way. Yeah, you know, we've been here for a while, just settle in, but we're gonna keep going.
Proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater.
Should.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? please?
Proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater.
No.
No.
Proposed action may involve construction on land with bedrock exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface.
No.
No.
Proposed action may involve
Did you
excavation.
give
or-
us? Yeah, no, okay. Or small, like,
They gotta build it on the.
No or small.
no, or small. I would agree.
Proposed action may involve excavation or removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material.
No. No.
May involve construction that continues for more than a year or multiple. years.
No,
May result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal, including herbicide.
No.
Proposed action may be located within a coastal erosion hazard.
no,
Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, such as cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossil species.
no.
Number 3, impact on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, e.g. streams, rivers, ponds, and lakes.
No.
Well, we don't know that though. I mean, depending
Well,
on.
there's, again, in the local law, there's part of 100-foot setback from many surface. water.
Okay, so no.
4, impact on groundwater. This proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer.
Yes, yeah.
No, because city water will be not groundwater.
Well,
They're all
the
aware.
question is whether it's impact on groundwater. That's what the use of
I
groundwater.
would say a small.
It's that question is a yes or no question.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's a yes or no question.
So.
And then we'll go into the subsection. All in favor for yes on impact of groundwater. just raise your hand. Yes, okay, so we'll go into the subsection, sub questions.
I feel like when we've got that, it's
Pardon?
exploring. I feel like when we have.
Sure,
that,
yeah, sure.
answer that.
For a, the proposed action may require new supply wells to create additional demand on supplies from existing water supply wells. No, or small or moderate. Water.
No.
Water supply demand on proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity rate for local supply.
No.
Proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water or sewer service.
No.
Proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge from groundwater.
No.
Proposed action may result in construction of water supply wells and location for groundwater.
No.
Proposed action may require the bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products.
No.
Proposed action may involve a commercial application of pesticides within 100 feet of potable drinking water or irrigation sources.
No.
Number 5, impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. 6, impact on air. Proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source.
No.
Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna.
As defined by. Grass.
As in we're taking a green space and mowing it down and putting a pavement on.
No.
Number 8, impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact agricultural resources. 9, impact on aesthetic resources. Land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. No. 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. Proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource.
No.
11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in an adopted municipal open space plan.
No.
12, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to critical environmental areas.
No.
13, impact on transportation. Proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems.
No.
Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy.
Yeah. Because the heats, they have to be heated. In the winter.
So yes.
Yes.
With that, doesn't require heat, the personal experience, if you want the chance to lay during the winter, you need to have them on light during the
Yeah.
winter.
Most people I know, like in Albany, who have this, like their coops are heated. So I mean, I think if there's the possibility of any increase in electricity, that's possible.
So sub A, sub question A, proposed action will require new or upgrade to an existing substation.
No.
Proposed action will require the creation or extension of an energy transmission or supply system to serve more than 50 single or family residences or to serve a commercial or industrial use.
No.
Proposed action may utilize more than 2,500 megawatts hours per year of electricity. Proposed action may involve heating or cooling of more than 100,000 square feet of building area when completed.
No.
15, impact on noise, odor, and light. Proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odor, or outdoor lighting.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Chickens are loud and. No, some people say not, some people say yeah. Some people say they don't smell, some people say they do.
Well, you can do moderate. I mean, some people might be sensitive to it. Moderate to large. I mean,
All right, look, we will just put a, I mean, like, this one is a yes or no question.
yeah.
Do we want to say yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and on the safe side, we'll just go to the yes side.
Okay. Yes, so the proposed action, this is A. Of 15, the proposed action may produce sound levels above noise levels established by local regulation.
No.
Proposed action may result in blasting. No. Proposed action may result in routine odors for more than 1 hour per day.
Yeah.
No.
No or small or moderate?
It's
No or
possible.
small, moderate, or large. No or small, moderate to large.
I put no small.
No.
No, moderate,
Don't say moderate.
moderate. Okay,
I said no to small, she was small.
okay, so consensus is no to small.
Proposed action may result in light shining after adjoining property. So, proposed action may result in lighting, creating sky glow greater than existing area conditions. No. Impact on human health, 16, proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants.
Contaminants as defined by law. Like chemical contaminant, smoke.
Yeah, solid waste, as when all the sub questions are landfills.
Can you repeat that one, please?
Impact on human health, proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants.
No.
Consistency with community plans, the proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
No.
Last one, consistency with community character, proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character.
No.
Plattsburgh had chickens for many, many years.
Some people.
That's true.
I just want to make a quick note on that though, when we're talking about the smell. If you have somebody living next to you and they got chickens that are smelling that bad that frequently, please report them because that means they are not keeping their chickens humane. Well-kept, humanely kept chickens do not produce noxious odors and should. So if it's happening, let us know.
And I think there's like a 3-star, like three, like,
Yeah, that was added important language within this to allow the building inspector to revoke the permit. In his or her discretion, and there's a presumption to revoke the permit if there's 3 that.
Considering that there was some anticipation on this going one way or the other, yes or no? We do have a adopted declaration resolution to adopt a negative declaration for proposed local law. I'd like to take a motion to waive rule number 4 to then introduce this item to the floor. Motion by Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Kelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
one in opposition. I now like Councilor Gibbs. Oh, roll call, wait, roll call. I now like to introduce resolution 7265.1. Adopting negative declaration for proposed local law P5A of 2022 and authorizing filing in accordance with requirements of state Environmental Quality Review Act motion. Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Canales. Roll call.
Council Canales?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yeah.
Council Gibbs?
No.
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
Carried. 7.266, I'm gonna take this one home then.
Okay.
7.266, adoption of local law P5A of 2022. I'll take a motion. Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canales, discussion.
Yes, I have some questions. Item F on the local law. It says coops and runs should be located in the rear yard of the parcel and be located no less than 5 feet from any property. Is there a provision in here, and maybe I missed it, is there a provision in this local law that mandates trough feeding only?
No, I don't believe so.
So hens can only be fed from a trough inside of,
Their enclosure.
inside the enclosure instead of people throwing food on the ground. Is there any provision in the law for trough feeding only?
I don't believe that there is a provision for trough feeding only.
No. I did not see anything in here that determines how manure will be handled. Is there a language in here about the handling and disposal of manure?
There's language about keeping the animals in humane conditions.
But they're going to create manure and is there a provision in the local law stipulating how that will be handled?
The specific handling of that.
Disposal,
But there's
handling
other
and
language
disposal.
about the impact of noise of water to cause. So G in the local law requires the property owners to remove any odorous or unsanitary conditions and maintain that sanitary and unodorous condition.
But it doesn't say specifically,
I think it's implied by that subsection that you need to keep the coop clean and without odors.
so where will, people who have the chickens, where will they dispose of the manure, and just in the garden?
Like compost that would be a appropriate use for it.
If I were a chicken
The garden.
keeper, I would keep the manure and put it in my compost pile. Because that's the best and most local use for it. It doesn't require that it be moved and stay in my compost pile until such time as it has degenerated, decomposed. Then I can put it in my garden, which is a wonderful thing. If you've ever grown anything with chicken manure compost, you would know that it's a valuable tool for a garden. So this kind of completes the cycle, you know, you feed your scraps to your chickens. And they in turn make manure, you in turn make compost, and then it goes right back in the soil where it's doing a lot of good.
So I have another question about the slaughtering of animals. It says waste materials from the slaughter of such animals shall be disposed of immediately in a clean and sanitary manner. So, excuse me, well, it's supposed to be manner, it says matter. So homeowners who have chickens will be allowed to slaughter their animals, but what does this mean? Waste materials from the slaughter shall be disposed of immediately in a clean and sanitary, should say manner. What does that mean? How would one dispose of the slaughter of the chicken? So anything that you're not using, how would that be disposed of? No, but how is it, disposed? Where does it go? That landfill as well?
That would be having the trash bag. Wouldn't that be-
Oh my gosh. How will the building inspector access if they can only address what they see from the road? So how is the building inspector's office going to be able to address anything that is a violation? Building inspector can only address an issue if it can be seen from the road. So how will the building inspector address that?
So it would be a complaint driven scenario first off, so the complaint from neighbor, the neighbor to provide access to the building inspector. There's facilities, it's not necessarily a public road, but any public space, any law enforcement or building inspector to make observations and if they see nefarious conduct afoot, they can make those observations.
But they can't go
Or-
inside the coop unless. Like they can't say,
If it,
open the coop.
if they absolutely needed to, which there's other language which gives the building inspector a lot of discretion to revoke a permit. So that would unlikely be a scenario that they would need to go inside a coop, but if they absolutely had to, the process where a building inspector can seek an administrative warrant from a judge and get access, which we have done on occasion for feral or for cat situations.
So who will be responsible for loose chickens? Will that be the police department? Who gets the phone call if there's a loose chicken on somebody's property? Oh, that could happen. Oh, I've already been.
Sorry.
So-
Right now.
So, who handles that? How is that handled?
Whatever neighbor decides. That is
The police?
that.
Yes.
Right now, I'm under the understanding that the building inspector does respond to those calls, as we've seen on a couple of occasions on Beacon Street, to go over to that neighborhood and, you know, take care of the chickens.
So I wanted to just make a final statement. I lived in my house for about 20 years now, and every year that I've lived in my home, I have to pick dog feces off my yard because people do not pick up. Even inside my yard, people allow their dogs into my yard, which is not trespassing. Smoke from fires continues to bother me, bother my neighbors. My son and I were out for a walk. Somebody in the neighborhood of Prospect and Leonard was burning plastic. And it was impossible to determine where it was coming from, but it was certainly circling the neighborhood. I've got cats on my yard that belong to my neighbors. I have neighbors who are burning plastic. On July 3rd, I had to call the police department because my neighbor was letting off fireworks on his front yard. Not just sparklers, they were full on fireworks. And there was so much noise
that it sounded like gunshots in my neighborhood. Chickens are going to invite pests. We already have problems with raccoons and other pests, but it is inevitable that this kind of situation is going to invite other pests. I would like to believe that people are going to do what they need to do, but if that were the case, we would need a police department. This is just going to be one more thing that people don't follow.
Your list of complaints that you presented to us have nothing to do with chicken.
It just adds to the list of the things.
Yeah, I just would like to say that I was on a council before that approached this idea and voted down. And it was so sad because there are people in our community who need the protein that they can get in their backyard from the chickens. And you know, that might be the only protein they get that day, it's all forward. But we're opening up that possibility for people. As I said before, it's just a, you know, it sort of completes a cycle of nature, you know, we believe in recycling, we believe in, you know, environmental responsibility. Having a few chickens in your backyard is a wonderful way to achieve that. 62 other municipalities in our state permit chickens. And that ranges from New York City to Rouse's Point, you know. It's a wide variety of communities, and there doesn't seem to be any real problem there. I think New York City can have chickens. Why can't we? So.
Well, and our procedures for permitting, I mean, we talked about this at length. It was one of the concerns I had about the law. I was very clear that one of the things that need to be part of that permitting process are the plans for the coop and the run. They need to be approved by the building inspector. So they will have to be up to standard before that permit can be given. So, you know, as far as that expectation, I've been in a lot of different urban areas that have chickens, and frankly, those aren't the places I see them running around. Where I usually see them running around is when I'm driving out, you know, Ellenberg and stuff like that. The truth is, in the urban areas, people tend to be a little more careful with their chickens.
And because of the specifications of the law, not everybody will be able to just like get chickens like they can a dog or a cat. So just like, you know, it's probably gonna just be a handful of people in the city, really.
Right, like, it's not like I can go out and buy a chicken tomorrow, be like, here's my chicken, you know,
It's like you have to have land space and you have to be able to, you know, be able to sell the coop.
And so also when we introduced this is why it's P5A, when we introduced this, we had good comments come back from the county planning board, and at the time, as most people know, when we do send this to the planning board and they provide a negative comment or a declination of this, we have the option to do a supermajority on the council. However, what we did, instead of doing that, we came back. I felt that we did the right thing, we revised the law based on the comments. They were good comments, and so this is the reintroduction of that revised local law based on their concerns for enforcement, cleanliness. A couple of counselors approached my office regarding the disposal, the clean disposal of backyard birds. And all of that was again revised into this local law and referred back to the planning board. Anecdotally, we heard they appreciated the comments, even though they weren't able to vote on it. They did say they appreciated the changes that were made based on their comments and their concerns. Any further discussion? We are voting on 2666, correct? Sorry.
I said 266, we don't need to have the extra 6.
Oh. Okay. Appreciate it. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Now,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Box.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
No.
Carried.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
Okay, at this time.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce local law P1 of 2023, a local law amending in its entirety city code section 348-4 and setting water service rates and enacting regulations for levy and collection of water charges. The public hearing will be set on Thursday, January 19th, 2023. Also at this time, I'd like to, it's not on the agenda, however, I would like to introduce local law. You have that one as well?
Yeah.
Local law P2 of 2023, establishing an associated schedule of rate for sewer connections in the city of Plattsburgh. That public hearing will also be set for Thursday, January 19th, 2023 at 5:01 p.m. There is no executive session tonight. Is there any new business that come before this council? Yes, Councilor Town.
Yeah, I just want to recognize that tonight is the final full council meeting of Council Canales, and I just want to say it's been great working with you, and I'm glad, you know, that I can call you a friend. So thank you. I'm gonna miss hearing your names, like as the first vote for everything. Yeah. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of flow, you know?
Appreciate that. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I truly appreciate this. Has definitely been one of the greatest highlights I've had probably in my life. Of being able to share the table with you all. Mayor, I appreciate you guys. 100% will continue to do so.
Any further new business?
I just wanted to thank the council for their vote tonight on chickens. I've been waiting for this for years. It's just so wonderful, things that we've joined those other 62 municipalities in the state of New York that, so now it's up to 63 of this.
Well, and much thanks goes also to our chicken community, the people here who really, you know, advocated for this and helped members of the council understand the ways that it could be done safely and in a helpful manner. So much appreciation to them.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. You guys have legal chickens.
As certainly as I've reflected over this year, I won't take up too much time, but as I've reflected over this year, this agenda tonight sums up a lot of what we've been able to accomplish. Some of the more progressive things, some of the even challenging things that those decisions that we've had to make that sometimes feel divides our community, unfortunately. And a lot of it is philosophical, a lot of it is approach. But at the end of the day, I think every single person up here does this for the right reason. We do it because we're committed to our community. We do it because we want our time spent towards a greater good of something. And I really appreciate all of the work that this council has done through this year. I will miss you, and I do call you a friend, and I hope to see you very soon, and I'm sure we'll have coffee sooner than later. And I appreciate your work on this board. A lot of counselors here, their next year is maybe their last year. And so as we roll into 2023, I do look forward to another progressive year of work, productive year of work. And even with all the debate, I appreciate the passion that people have for what we do. So thank you. I appreciate it. This is our last year, or this is our last meeting of the year. Any new business? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks all.